two young lives tragically cut short, and at the centre of it all is a police-issued revolver. How did this weapon end up involved in a double homicide, and why did one of the victims feel they couldn't turn to the police for help? Today we're exploring the unsettling case of Jesse Baird and Luke Davies, a story of power, fear and communities that have often been silenced. Over the next few videos, we'll explore not only the tragic events that led to the deaths of Jesse and Luke, but also the historical context from which they emerged. At the heart of this tragedy lies a crucial question. How did a police-issued firearm become a tool for murder? And does this point to a larger systemic issue within the New South Wales Police Force? Let me know in the comments section below. The revolver used in the murders was assigned to Beau Lamar Condon, a senior police constable within the New South Wales Police Force. Since the deaths of Jesse and Luke, of course, Lamar Condon has been removed from the force. And I just want to say at the very beginning, it's not unusual for police officers to carry police-issued firearms outside of work, as officers often take on extra jobs such as providing security at user pay events. It's additional overtime that they just wouldn't otherwise get. On the Thursday, just before the murders, Lamar Condon signed out a firearm from the Miranda police station for use at a Free Palestine rally on Sunday. This was a user pays event. However, what stands out here and what seems very unusual to me is that he had the firearm until the following Tuesday. That's at least 5 days if you count the Thursday and Tuesday as one day. This seems excessively high if the firearm was only needed for the day of the Free Palestine rally. And this raises an awkward question for the New South Wales Police Force. Why did Lamar Condon had the revolver for such an extended period of time, and what does it mean for public trust when someone who is supposed to uphold the law is implicated in such a serious crime such as murder? But the revolver is just the tip of the iceberg here. Beneath the surface lies a complex and painful reality that involves domestic violence within the LGBTQ plus community, who are often marginalised and discriminated against. Research shows that 1 in 3 LGBTQ plus individuals experience domestic and family violence at some point in their lives. And while this rate is comparable to the general population, LGBTQ plus people face additional barriers such as fear of discrimination when seeking support or simply a lack of support, and most of all, mistrust of the police. All of this which makes reporting and seeking help so much more difficult. According to reports, Jesse Baird's relationship with Beau Lamar Condon was more of a casual friends with benefits type of relationship. But things became strange when Lamar Condon falsely claimed on social media that they were a couple. Jesse Baird, on hearing this, tried to distance himself from Lamar Condon as he did not feel the same way. On realising this, Lamar Condon allegedly engaged in a months-long campaign of predatory behaviour targeting Jesse. Intimidatory tactics such as stalking and harassment were part and parcel of Lamar Condon's playbook. He reportedly used his position as a police officer to further intimidate and control Jesse. Understandably, Jesse must have felt trapped and hesitated to reach out for help, possibly feeling unsure if the police would even support him if he made an allegation against one of their own officers. If you were in Jesse's shoes, would you have felt safe reaching out to the police? What might have caused you to hold back? And this leads us into our next focus, the long-standing and troubled relationship between the LGBTQ plus community and the police, a relationship marred by fear, mistrust, and often systemic failures. To truly understand the depth of this tragedy, we need to take a step back and examine the historical context in which this difficult relationship emerged. And there's no better place to start this journey of time with Jesse and Luke at the Beresford Hotel, where the Sydney Mardi Gras Festival was just getting underway. However, I think to appreciate the full significance of that night, we must consider the journey of the LGBTQ plus community, which led to the creation of the Sydney Mardi Gras festival itself. Let's go back to 1978, where sexual conduct between men was still a crime, carrying a punishment of up to 14 years imprisonment. And if you were openly gay in Sydney, you could be sacked from your job because same-sex attraction was considered abnormal by some in the medical community and religious institutions. Moreover, police frequently conducted violent raids on gay bars and meeting places. Patrons were arrested to shut down these establishments, which specifically catered to the LGBTQ plus community. There were reports of police officers using entrapment tactics to catch gay men in sexual acts. For example, officers would pose as a potential partner to lure a gay man into committing acts that could be used as evidence for their arrest. These arrests were often subject to public humiliation, including having their names and addresses published in newspapers. This did not only damage the reputation of the people who were arrested, but often strained their marriages and relationships with others, but also put them at further risk of harassment and violence from the community. Without legislative protections, the queer community had little recourse against police misconduct and discrimination. This led to a climate of fear and secrecy where many queer people felt they had to hide their sexual orientation in order to avoid arrest and persecution. The historical legacy of violence and persecution continues to shape the experience of the queer community today. Jessie, who didn't turn to the police for help when being stalked by Lamar Condon, exemplifies this fear and mistrust that persists within the community today. How much do you think the scars from 1978 still affect the LGBTQ plus community's relationship with the police? Let me know in the comments section below. I want to revisit 1978 because it's an inflection point when emerging gay activism across the world was beginning to take shape, and this was happening in Sydney, Australia as well. In 1969, the Stonewall Uprising in New York galvanised the queer community to bring about significant change in attitudes and law, but this took time to happen. 1969 was a pivotal moment in which a series of violent clashes between the police and queer patrons at the Stonewall Inn, a gay bar in New York, sparked a wave of activism and resistance, not just in New York, but across the entire free world. Queer activism in Sydney took root with an event commemorating the 9th anniversary of Stonewall riots. This led to the organisation of the very first Mardi Gras by a coalition of gay, lesbian and progressive groups who initially conceived the Mardi Gras as a protest march. Organisers decided to hold the march at night, making it harder for photographers to capture images of the protesters who were wearing costumes and makeup to conceal their true identities. The fear of being publicly outed was a substantial risk that many could not take. As the protests moved down Oxford Street, protesters noticed a palpable change in the police. As they chanted, "Stop police attacks on gay, women and blacks," violence erupted. Police effectively corralled the protesters by pushing and shoving them into a small section of Oxford Street. Many were arrested as police flagrant homophobia, hatred and aggression were on full display for all to see. What had started out as a peaceful march turned into Australia's Stonewall moment. The unprecedented brutality escalated as 53 protesters were arrested and held at the Darlinghurst police station. But police brutality did not end in Oxford Street. It continued at Darlinghurst station, where one of the protesters was so badly beaten by the police that he began to convulse. Meanwhile, outside the station, protesters were calling for an end to the violence. A doctor who was outside was called in to examine the beaten protester, and he recommended that he go to hospital, but the police refused, and he was returned to his cell. The protest ended, but it marked the beginning of a fight for equal rights for all in the queer community. The Sydney Mardi Gras, which began as a protest, is now a festival celebrating those hard-won rights, but it's poignant to think about what happened to Jesse and Luke. Because Beau Lamar Condon, an openly gay senior police constable, was in a position of power, yet the very community that he came from feared him. Allegations of predatory behaviour surrounding Lamar Condon before the murders raised unsettling echoes of the past, where the lines between the victim and the oppressor blurred in a system meant to protect them. Is this a recapitulation of the past in a different guise, where queer people fear that if they complain to the police, they will either be ignored or suffer further persecution? Given the history of the fraught relationship between the police and the queer community, it is understandable that Jesse Baird never complained about Lamar Condon's aberrant behaviour. Why do you think someone like Lamar Condon, who comes from the same marginalised community, could have allegedly committed such heinous acts? Does power play a role in this dynamic? I think the story of Jesse and Luke is far from over, and the questions it raises about trust, power and accountability will echo long after the verdict of this case comes in. Your voice is crucial in raising awareness about issues like this. Don't just watch, be part of the change. Hit the subscribe and like buttons, and let's continue this important conversation. Your voice matters. Well, that's it for this video. Take care.